Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Clint, how are you?
I'm good.
I think that a lot of people underestimate how important and valuable peer support is and how sometimes it's the only thing that works for first responders.
And the hardest part is getting people to actually want to speak with another peer support member. And I think it's because, one, you hear those rumors of, oh, well, if you talk to them, they're going to spread your stuff all over the place. And that's not the case. If anyone's ever talked with someone from peer support, like, you know that your stuff stays confidential with them because they wouldn't be in that spot if they did release that information. And peer support, they're specifically trained into help you find the answers to whatever's going on and not them tell you what those answers are, to be able to support and guide you into working through whatever you may be going through.
Yeah, and I think the truth is that sometimes the only support that actually lands is coming from someone who's been exactly where you are. And therapy helps, chaplains help, family helps, but there's this specific kind of relief that only happens when you're sitting across from someone who's worn the same uniform, worked the same shifts, and carried that same weight. And I thought that it's a little bit important for us to be able to explore why peer support works when other resources will often fall short.
And a perfect example of this is, I remember when I was doing the internet crimes investigations, and we were going through our quarterly training with our whole task force, and they brought in this psychologist that came on, and she spent at least half of her time talking about how qualified she is and trying to build that, I know what you guys are going through. I know what this is the trauma that you're absorbing on a regular basis. And then she tells her story of, oh, well, I went out with this agency one time and witnessed this, and it was so egregious. But so I know what you're going through. And that's where I think that's what starts creating that negative mindset and that dynamic with dealing with people who don't have the same understanding that we do when we're going through whatever it is. I mean, you can fill in the blank there. And that's why it's important to speak with your peer support persons and to find someone who is an ally on your side. And it's not necessarily they have to understand what you're going through, but it's being able to use those tools that they've learned to be able to help you move out of that situation.
Yeah, so let's understand why this actually works. The psychological concept is called shared lived experience and therapeutic alliance. And the research is out there. You can look it up for yourself, that's showing this consistent strength of therapeutic alliance. And there's this sense of being truly understood by the person supporting you. And I think this is also one of the leading predictors when it comes to healing and recovery.
When we start to really talk with someone or to go through those shared experiences with one another, whether it's finding solutions to the problem or not, but you start processing it to get it eliminated so where it's not building up this you're not just pushing it down and holding on to it on a regular basis. I mean, ultimately you're going to have these situations and dynamics that you will experience throughout your career, but it's having those healthy tools to be able to build off of those experiences with one another, whether they were at the scene with you or not, being able to start alleviating that loop that you're going through.
Yeah, and I think that for first responders, that shared lived experience creates that alliance faster and more deeply than almost anything else. And it's not because it replaces professional help, but it removes that barrier of having to explain to the world things that they probably won't fully understand anyways.
Yeah, and also you can incorporate, some of the humor aspect of it, and you can, where a person who hasn't been through those situations wouldn't necessarily understand it, but you can incorporate kind of your own jargon, your own terminologies in which you wouldn't have to sit and explain what that is to somebody else who's not involved in that realm at all.
Yeah, this often looks like feeling immediately understood without having to provide the context and lowering your defenses faster, because in traditional support settings, it could be really difficult to be able to do that. And then you're willing to be honest because that judgment feels like it's less likely.
And like I look at it as this way, is like you see the old mindset of, you're laying on a couch in a psychiatrist's office and you start talking and they go, well, tell me about your father. Tell me about your mother. And it's kind of going to something completely off the rails of what you actually are there to talk about. My
friend was telling me about a therapy session and he was asked, do you hear voices that nobody else hears? And he's like, how the hell am I supposed to know?
I mean, that's very true.
And, we're laughing about it, but that's just to kind of give you an example of the variance in between that comfort level. And I think there are signs that you might need support right now. And one of them could be that you've tried to explain what you're going through and then nobody seems to get it. And maybe you feel alone.
And that's one of the biggest situations. And there's going to be other people who do understand that. You just might not be in that right circle for them to have gone through that same situation or have to experienced it to where you can share that commonality with them.
Sometimes too, I see that the gap that people are experiencing feels like it is far too wide for anybody else to actually be able to understand. And maybe you're dismissing professional help before you've actually given it a real chance. I knew somebody who's since passed away who used to feel that way, and he went through so many different therapists, and he finally found one who understood the realm of law enforcement. And that was the first time that I actually started to feel like he was getting forward with progression.
And that's why it's so important to find people who not only want to work with you, but people who have that understanding, because you're not always going to mesh with everybody, and finding someone who can have that shared experience or to have that true understanding. And you'll be able to tell pretty early on whether they understand or not without them acting like they can understand and they really don't.
Yeah, a conversation I had with that gentleman was that he was at a place where he just felt like isolating himself instead of reaching out, because reaching out felt like it was pointless until it wasn't. Like you could say he hit the rock bottom. But he got to this place to where he finally gave himself permission to just try. Like, let me just give it a shot. If I don't like it, then I don't ever have to go back.
And I think that's the hardest thing, is give yourself permission to be able to get out of your comfort zone and talk to somebody, because you might not always need it, but it's there and it's in place. And that's why it's important to especially start with your peer support.
Yeah. And there are ways to make peer support actually work for you and your department. And I wish I heard more people talking about this, but we need to get into the habit of supporting people to normalize a conversation before the crisis arrives. And I think that peer support works best when it's already been a part of the culture and you've already established a relationship with somebody that you can turn to when you actually need it.
And the biggest thing is, you have that relationship, like you said. It's when you've already established that relationship and you've made that a normal from early on in your career, and you're not just saying, hey, rub dirt on it and keep moving along. You're able to be comfortable in talking about the uncomfortable things.
Yeah. And if I ran the wellness situation at your department, I would actually have a situation going on to where a buddy system took place, almost like pen pals, to where there would be certain tasks that had to take place every 3 months or so. And I would reassign your pen pal every 3 months so that you can get to know certain people on different shifts and of different personalities, different genders even can offer different insights, to be able to kind of create that bridge between the gap that might have existed before, just so that you can have that first level of comfort to be able to have that connection with somebody.
Yeah, and I think when you have something like that, and I think every agency should have a full-time peer support team. It doesn't need to be 10 officers or anything like that. I mean, it's all dependent on your size of the department, but you should always have one or two people. It's not like an ancillary duty. It should be your primary function, and always learning and adapting to what's going on and being able to make yourself available to those who need it.
Yeah, another exercise that I would have in that 3-month pen pal scenario would be to send a 60-second video message answering a certain prompt and then changing that prompt every 3 months. And the reason why is because it makes me so proud when somebody that I've never talked to before reaches out to me and I drop them a voice message or a video message. And then at first they'll say something like, "Oh, I've never had somebody send me a message like that before. It's always on text." And then continuing the conversation with them, whether it's over hours or days or weeks or months. And then all of a sudden you see them fumbling around with the camera and they send you a video message, and their first video message ever in response. And, it's actually shocking when you see how little social skills a lot of younger officers especially are lacking, because they don't have that pressure or that prompt or that requirement to be able to practice those skills.
Yeah, we're so used to being the keyboard trolls behind the scenes, and it's important to be able to break people out of their comfort zones, because when you start seeing that as the new normal, you're going to inevitably adjust to it.
I hope we've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.